who's actually going to love the Fujifilm X100V, and who should walk away. If you're trying to decide whether this sleek silver compact is the right tool for your everyday shots, or if you're just looking for a fancy look-nice camera, keep listening. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The big question is, does the X100V give you enough photographic freedom to justify its price, or are you better off spending that money on an interchangeable lens system or a high-end smartphone? I get a lot of comments from people who've been burned before buying a fancy fixed-lens camera only to discover it can't keep up when the light drops, or that the autofocus takes forever to lock on a moving subject. Those are the exact moments that make me pause before clicking Add to Cart. The X100V promises great photography every day, everywhere, but does it deliver in the real world? Let's break down the everyday scenarios you'll actually face, then decide who should hit buy and who might want to keep scrolling. First off, the X100V is built around a 23mm f/2 lens that's been praised for its classic rendering and a field of view that feels natural for street and documentary work. If you spend most of your time walking around a city, snapping candid moments, or pulling out a camera on a coffee break to capture that perfect latte art, the lens is a solid match. It's fast enough to give you a shallow depth-of-field look when you want it, yet wide enough to fit into tight spaces. In practice, I've seen photographers pull an impressive background blur on a bustling sidewalk, and the results feel more professional than most smartphone portraits. That's the first practical strength, a genuinely fast, high-quality lens without the bulk of swapping glass. Autofocus on the X100V is a mixed bag. For static subjects, think architecture, street signs, or a still portrait. The hybrid AF locks quickly and accurately. The camera's focus assist light is subtle and rarely needed in daylight. However, the moment you chase a moving subject, children running, cyclists, or a dog mid-jump, the AF can hesitate. It's not a disaster, you can still capture the moment, but you'll need to anticipate and maybe use manual focus for critical action shots. If you're planning to rely on the camera for sports or fast-moving events, that limitation could be a deal-breaker. Low-light performance is where the X100V tries to shine. The f/2 aperture and a 26.1-megapixel APS-C sensor combine to produce clean images up to about ISO 6400, with only moderate noise. In real terms, this means you can pull off a well-exposed shot in a dimly lit restaurant or at a twilight concert without pulling out a flash. The colors stay true, and the highlight detail is retained, something that often gets lost in cheaper compact cameras. That said, the sensor isn't as forgiving as a full-frame body, so if you frequently shoot in near-dark settings, think indoor events with minimal lighting, you'll start to see grain and might need to accept a slightly softer look or resort to higher exposure settings that could affect depth of field. Stabilization, or rather the lack thereof, is another practical consideration. The X100V does not have in-body image stabilization, IBIS. For handheld stills, it's usually fine because the shutter speeds are quick enough, especially in daylight. But for video, or for the occasional low-light handheld shot where you're pushing the ISO, the camera can feel a little jittery. The X100V does offer a steady shot mode that applies electronic stabilization to video, but it crops the frame a bit. If you plan on making a lot of handheld video on the move, you might find yourself wishing for a steadier platform or a gimbal accessory. On the flip side, the absence of IBIS means the body stays slim and the battery life stays respectable, lasting roughly 350 shots per charge, adequate for a day out but not a marathon shoot. Battery confidence is something many people overlook until the day they're at an event and the power light blinks red. The X100V uses a NPW126S lithium-ion pack, which is comparable to other high-end compacts. In my experience, you get roughly 350 shots before needing a charge, and the USB-C charging is fast, about 30 minutes for a full top-up. If you're someone who forgets to pack extras, a spare battery is advisable, but you won't feel stranded after a few hours of shooting. The menu system on the X100V can be both a friend and a foe. Fujifilm's film simulation presets are a huge draw: classic chrome, velvet, and the new Acros monochrome look let you apply a stylized look straight out of the camera. Switching between these modes is swift, and the dedicated dials on the top plate make it feel like you're using a classic analog camera. However, diving deeper, customizing AF zones, tweaking ISO curves, or setting up advanced video parameters requires navigating several layers of menus. For newcomers, that learning curve can feel a bit intimidating. Once you get the hang of it, the interface becomes ergonomic, but the initial friction might nudge a casual buyer.